Welcome to Escape Artist, the podcast where we celebrate the bold souls who have dared to break free from the confines of the corporate 9-to-5 grind to pursue their passions and create a life of personal and financial freedom. Each week, we'll uncover the stories of extraordinary individuals who have embarked on their own entrepreneurial adventures. Our guests will share their personal tales of liberation, resilience, and triumph. Together, we'll explore the pivotal moments, the challenges, and the lessons learned along the way. So join me as we embark on a journey of discovery, courage, and boundless potential. Let's design the life you've always dreamed of, where the only boss is you. Here's your host, Laura Demetrius.
Hello, my fellow escape artists. I hope you're all having a great week. I have a really special interview today with a good friend of mine named Ryan McCrary, also known as the Funnel Doctor. He is a digital marketing expert, a CEO, a speaker, and author who specializes in helping online entrepreneurs grow and scale their businesses online through profitable sales funnels and through paid ads. After working in the corporate finance industry, he discovered his passion for helping people create true generational wealth that didn't require them to sell their soul to draining careers. His strategies are rooted in designing a life that doesn't require the constant grind. And with over $500,000 in ad spend managed to generate over $450 million in revenue, Ryan has helped his clients maximize their income and impact while creating a true freedom-based lifestyle. He is the epitome of an escape artist, and I'm so excited to introduce him today. Without further ado, here's my interview with Ryan McCrary. All right, what's up, friends? I am with my friend, Ryan McCrary. Ryan is a funnel builder and runs his own agency. And he's just a wealth of knowledge of all things funnel. If you don't already know my history of funnel building, I came from the world of ClickFunnels. That's where I met Ryan. Ryan has a really successful business, and he's also been doing a lot of speaking lately, which I want to talk a little bit about. But Ryan, thanks for being here and joining me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Before we get started with getting into the details and the nitty-gritty of funnel building, tell me kind of how you started your business and what brought you into the world of building funnels.
Sure. So I started my business originally about 8 years ago now. And when I first started, I was not doing funnels. So my professional background is actually in finance. So I worked in corporate finance for many years. I had my securities licenses, but I didn't want to work in corporate anymore. I didn't want to go up the corporate ladder for a number of different reasons. So I ventured into entrepreneurship, very naive getting into it. I didn't know anything about running the business, starting the business, growing the business, anything like that. But my first business was actually around financial literacy and wealth building, because that's what I knew, in my corporate career. So
Wow.
I wrote a book. I did, financial literacy coaching and courses and stuff like that. But in the midst of that, I had to learn how to make money as an entrepreneur, because of course I didn't have my corporate job anymore. I didn't have my salary. So I was like, I got to figure out like how to make money. That's what led me to digital marketing. So I started learning funnels and advertising and lead magnets and upsells and like that whole world. I started learning it. I was very intrigued in it, and I really started to like it. So then I started getting results for myself. And then meeting a lot of entrepreneurs along the way, I started getting results for other people. So then I had an epiphany of like, do I actually want to do an agency? Do I actually want to, start full-time building funnels for other people and like shift my business model? And then in the end of 2019, beginning of 2020 is when we did make that decision. And that's when I started just being quote unquote the funnel doctor, running an agency, and actually building funnels for other people in addition to myself.
Wow. Okay. And you talked about learning. Crazy that you have a finance background. Like, that's incredible. I don't even think I knew that about you yet. But where did you start with learning about digital marketing? Because people are inundated with information and offers and programs and just different types of education to learn digital marketing. How did you know where to get started?
That's a good question. I didn't. I was just kind of figuring out along the way. And that is what led me to like the ClickFunnels world and Russell Brunson and stuff like that. And the first book I ever read in that niche was Expert Secrets.
Yeah.
And then I read .com Secrets after and other ones. But Expert
Which that is the right order, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He calls it like the prequel. That's the prequel anyway, Expert Secrets. So that was like the kind of the start of everything, was like that book. Honestly, and just reading that, of course, once I clicked on anything, I got retargeted forever. still to
Yeah.
this day.
Of course.
So, you know what I mean? So it was just like that and learning it. But like the first thing, honestly, that I started learning about was kind of like the lead magnet aspect of it. Of like, if you have a website or you have a landing page, like make sure you collect people's information. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what really intrigued me the most about it, because I was too dependent on social media and not
Yep.
really intentional about building a list. And I think
Yep.
a lot of people are still there as well, of like just very vulnerable. Because I was like, yeah, I got, I'm trying to get my social media following. I'm doing okay. I'm getting some views. I'm getting clicks and stuff like that. And then certain people, at the time I was watching YouTube or, doing different webinars and stuff, they were like, that's great, but you don't own that traffic. So
Yep.
like, how can you actually build a list through like a lead magnet? And I was like, lead magnet, like, what is that? Like, it's something valuable that you give in exchange for information, name, email, phone number, and then you nurture them, put them in a sequence. And I was like, that was like the first thing I was like, wow, like, okay, now I got to get my lead magnet. I got to get it pop up on
Yep.
my website. I got to build my email list and then kind of go from there.
Yeah. And I feel like in this industry, there's a lot of like jargon, not necessarily highly technical jargon, but when you
Yeah.
say like lead magnet, or when you talk about funnels or tripwires or whatever language people decide to use in this industry, it can be a little bit off-putting for someone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
And, like you and me, like we're intelligent human beings, but if you don't know that jargon, you're kind of like, that just sounds like something I just don't know if I'm into
Exactly.
that. And then somebody explains it to you simply, and it's like you're saying lead magnet, you're saying tripwire, but it's all very basic stuff. You just have to give somebody something for them to trust you enough to give you their email address. Like it's very
Exactly.
simple. And when you
Exactly.
talk about social media, like there's so many people out there still to this day, and maybe they're not trying to run an online business. Maybe they're influencers or ambassadors or whatever. It works to have a big audience on social media, but if you actually want to build a business that generates income, the list is so important. I think people still
Oh, yeah.
forget that today, even though there's so many people out there preaching like the money is in the list. It's quite simple. And it's kind of simple to also create something to build your list
It
as
is.
well.
Oh,
Talk a
yeah.
little bit about like things that you've used for lead magnets or like your clients on how you can help build their lists as well.
Definitely. So, of course, books, whether that's physical book or ebook, different resource guides, PDFs, pamphlets and stuff like that, digital downloads, like so many
Mhm.
different things. So, like, I use, when I originally first got started in the finance world, I did write a book in finance. So, that was like a main lead magnet for me. I did a free plus shipping thing, and I, kind of looked at it as a lead magnet to just get people into my world and
Yeah.
get them into everything else. And I have a new book that I launched last year, so we're using that as a lead magnet. I've done tons of ebooks and, just reference guides and checklists and cheat sheets and a lot of stuff. Like I have one that we still run now is like, I think it's the top 3 ways to like optimize your funnel or something like that.
Oh, nice.
And then we have like a small tripwire upsell for like my ultimate sales bundle, which is like $17. And then we have like a funnel jumpstart pack as like another order bump and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's just tons of stuff. And I always look at it as well as like, what can I put out there that's going to make people intrigued to get other stuff? I think
Yeah,
a lot of times some people just like, well, let me just figure out a lead magnet randomly. Let me see what else I have on the shelf that I didn't sell or whatever. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that trickulates back to what you're actually trying to ultimately sell.
yeah.
I think that's important as well that people need to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I have seen, and I've done this myself. Like it's a common mistake of launching a business, of not being in an alignment and not having continuity with what
Right.
your lead magnet is versus what your core offer is. And if there's no
Exactly.
connection there, people are going to be very confused. They're going to unsubscribe, or they're just going to tap out and say like, okay, I downloaded your lead magnet because this applied to me, but this offer does not.
Right. Exactly. So
Yep.
yeah, again, so that's important because especially if you're doing paid traffic and stuff like that, you don't want to spend money and build this list that don't become customers. Because yeah, we're building a
Yeah,
list, but the ultimate goal is like to monetize that list. So if you're not doing that right, you're not able to monetize the list, then
for
you kind
sure.
of start over.
Yeah, and I know that you're pretty well versed in paid traffic, and that seems to be one thing too that entrepreneurs and people in this space um hire for, because they're like,
Oh,
I don't want to get into that. It can be very intense. It gets granular. There's a lot of different things to learn. I know with the help of AI and Facebook ads and stuff, there's a lot of things that you can use to assist you.
mhm.
But it's still one of those things that people are a little bit intimidated by. Like they're willing to spend the money if they know that it works, but they don't necessarily want to do it themselves. What is like a common misconception that people have about running paid traffic, and why do you think it is that people hire help for it?
Yeah, a main misconception I think is that it's going to work overnight. That's
Yeah.
the one I see a lot of like, I'm gonna run this ad, I'm gonna spend 100, 1,000 or whatever. And like, if it's not, if I don't generate the ROI that I wanted in the beginning, it didn't work. It's a scam. Let me go back to organic. I told you paid ads don't work.
Yeah.
It's like you missed the boat. It's like I look at it as like kind of like going to the gym and working out. It's like you want to get in shape. So you go into the gym, you go 1 or 2 times and like, oh, I didn't get in shape. I didn't get the body I wanted. Going to the gym is a scam. Like, I would never go do that again. It's like we all know that's crazy. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I look at it. And I
It's
think,
the long-term investment.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean you can't get short-term wins, but it's just understanding the overall strategy.
Yeah.
And then your next question was, I guess, why do you think people outsource it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's this if you're not versed in that and you don't really take the time to really understand it and look at the metrics and stuff, you're going to be confused. So, like when I speak and give presentations, I always tell people like, you can run your own ads, but if you're going to run them, here are all the things you need to be looking at. What's your cost per click? How many clicks did you get? How many visits did you get? What was your cost per lead if you're running it for leads? How many leads did you get? What did you spend on that? What are your CPMs? What's your click-through rate? Like all these different metrics, and I can go on and on and on.
And
Me,
just saying that, they're like, can you do
exactly,
it?
right.
Yeah.
It's like, let me just hire you.
And do you still see, I know a lot of people say that Facebook is still the way to go. Is that where you see the most success in terms of ROI for ad spend, or do you use multiple platforms?
I still do see it there, but I also don't really look at that many other platforms as
Yeah.
well. You know what I mean? So my, look is kind of jaded. Um, and so as an agency, like we do Facebook, Instagram, we do a little bit of Google and SEO, but like even me personally, like my specific expertise is Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I still do see that, in my opinion, that's the best way to get eyeballs on your stuff and most cost effective way. And it also depends on your business.
Yeah.
Because if you have a professional, be looking for professionals or corporate clients or B2B, I'm going to say LinkedIn as opposed to Facebook or somewhere else. So it also depends on, what type of avatar you're looking for.
Yeah. And speaking of that, how did you find or discover what your niche is in your business as the funnel doc? Like you, I know that you've worked with a lot of people in the travel industry, and you've told me a little bit about how,
Yeah.
that's kind of taken off because of the clients that you've worked with.
Yeah.
I'm curious, and I think a lot of people still have this question, and I think about this pretty regularly. Like, how do you continue to niche in to find those people, or did it kind of just happen organically?
Honestly, it happened organically. So in the travel niche, like I never ever had any specific intentions or direct marketing or messaging, like looking for travel people before I started working with them. It was just me literally falling into it. So, we
Yeah.
generally do work with a lot of different type of clients and niches and stuff like that. And there was one in particular that reached out, you know what I mean? It was kind of the same thing we just talked about. Like she was trying to figure out ads on her own. And she was like, let me just hire you. Like her
Yeah.
coined phrase now is like, send me the invoice. Like that's all she says when she gets confused. And it was around travel. So they do these, and they still do these free virtual summits every single month around a different travel theme. So
Mm.
like when it's fall, it's like fall back to travel. When it's spring, it's like spring fling travel. It's like different themes. It's like a 3-day free virtual event. And at the end of it, they launch like a new trip. They give a special discount and stuff like that. And they were doing like 6-figure months minimally every single launch.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was interesting. I was like, wow. Cause it was like, we had a really great funnel and blueprint of like, we build this virtual event funnel, free funnel. They didn't even have an upsell or a trip where they had nothing. It was like literally just register for free. We drive traffic to it. So they were spending anywhere from 5, 7K, maybe 10K on a big month on traffic.
Yeah.
They get them to register. Of course, they do all the reminders and everything to get, as many people to show up as possible. They still were only getting 10, 20% show up rate or less. But then they would just do this launch and then again present this offer, and it was successful. Then they just kept doing it consistently every single month. And I was like, that's interesting. I was like, this is great. And then I just started working with other travel businesses. I worked with like an 8-figure travel company before as well. And I just saw like the different models of like within travel, they need to build a list. They're big on community building and need to convert people into bookings. And they also have generally high ticket travel offers where it's like they can afford to spend money on paid ads because they have a bigger ticket on the back end, as
Yeah.
opposed to like a product brand where it's paying $50, $100 product. Nothing wrong with that, but you need a lot more volume. So once I saw it, I was like, I like this travel industry.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because it is a very unique niche. And I love that it kind of fell into your lap. And I also love those stories of like, I did this, it was new to me, and it worked. And then it took
Yeah,
off. And then
exactly.
it
Right.
continued to work. And then I
Right.
decided, let's go that way. Like, it's so cool to hear about people building their businesses based on what has continued to work and how they can keep optimizing that system for making things work.
Yep.
That also brings me to another question that I also find very fascinating, especially in marketers and people who run their own agencies. Do you ever find that you are so great at marketing for your clients, but you're not applying it to yourself?
Yeah, all the time.
And
Still to
that's
this
such a
day.
common thing in this industry, right?
Right.
Like
Like, still to
when
this.
people ask me, like, so what do you do? Or what's your website? Or where's your funnel? And it's like, oh my God, if I spent half the time and energy, or even just like the mental bandwidth thinking about what I want to do to market myself versus what I do for clients I've worked with. Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, listen, I didn't have a website for my business, like this agency, for like 3 years. I was doing this for like about 3 years and didn't have no website at all.
Yeah.
And I've built so many other funnels for other people than myself. Like I
Yeah.
literally, even still to this day, of like, I still have so many funnels that I want to launch that I have not done because like I'm so focused on our clients and getting them results, and like my stuff always is last. So like if
Yeah.
I'm looking at every single day of like my to-do list, or with my team, my project manager, account manager, of like our account board and stuff of all the projects,
Hmm.
my stuff is always last. I'm like, we gotta do this. And if I have time, I'll work on doing another webinar for myself or another funnel I want to launch. And like, I don't know why it's like that, but it's just like that.
I think too, and this is my opinion about it, because I go back and forth on this all the time of like, maybe I just really need to brand myself a little bit better. I talk about brand and influence and, build community building for people that I've worked with and businesses I've worked for, but I don't do it as much for myself. And I think, and maybe this is again just bias, but I think that's probably a sign of good business as well. Like when you don't
Yeah,
have the time or capacity to
yeah,
focus on it
I know,
yourself,
right? Yeah,
because your business is being generated by personal relationships and pre-existing clients that are like referring you and the word of mouth, and especially because you're speaking at events. I think that speaks volumes too. It's like you don't need to have this incredible website that's highly designed and that you invested a bunch of money into, because your business speaks for itself. Your clients speak for themselves.
right. Like
Yeah.
seriously. So yeah, I mean, I am trying to get better at it. And even like in my business, when things do get a little slower, that's when I'll revert back to my stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't necessarily always like, mind when it gets a little bit slower, because like then I have more time to like think about my stuff and my funnels and work on the business, not in the business. But when it's busy and we got a lot of clients, stuff like that, and of course, we gotta make money. We gotta have revenue. Like
Yeah.
so our core business model is providing services for other people through funnels and stuff like that. So and then even the stuff like with my funnels, unless it's driving right to our services, a lot of it is like on the digital product side. So I do want
Yeah.
to have more courses and everything like that, or start doing my own events or
Yeah.
intensives and stuff like that. So I feel like there's opportunity there, but then that still that takes away from our core business model of what we're doing as providing services. So it's like it's kind of a
Yeah.
give and take.
Hello, my fellow digital entrepreneurs. It's Laura here, and I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce you to something truly transformative. Picture this. You're armed with the most cutting-edge digital marketing strategies, equipped with high-income skills, and empowered to establish and run a thriving online business in just a matter of days. That's where Digital Wealth Academy comes into play. This program isn't just your typical online course. It's a comprehensive journey meticulously crafted to guide you from where you are to where you dream of being. With Digital Wealth Academy, you'll learn everything from creating your own digital products to how to launch your business strategically. You can dive into funnel building, branding, email marketing, and how to build trust with your audience. What's even better is you'll gain exclusive access to the master resale rights to the course. So even if you don't have your own product yet, you can sell the course yourself to get your business started. Imagine rebranding and sharing this invaluable knowledge as your own while reaping the rewards time and time again. Head to www.sidehustlelaura.com/DWA or click the link in the show notes to step into the world of digital entrepreneurship today. Remember, your journey to success begins now. Keep believing and keep breaking free. Yeah. And you mentioned doing these webinar funnels for people in the travel industry. Are there any other funnels that you feel like have been like an expertise for you or that you focus on, or is it mainly webinars at this point?
Definitely webinars, online challenge funnels, um, virtual summit funnels. Definitely, we've done well with that, or virtual events and that type of stuff. Those are probably the main ones. We're starting to do more like VSL funnels.
Okay.
We had like a client in the B2B space where that worked really well. So we directed them, to opt-in, VSL, and then the call to action was schedule a call. And then we had automations fire off if they didn't schedule a call or didn't watch the video and that type of stuff. But primarily it's the webinar challenges and like virtual events.
Very cool. Speaking of events, I know that you've been traveling all over lately. Like I feel like every time I check in on you on social, you're in a
I
different
know.
city. How did you get into speaking?
Yeah, so I mean, it just kind of randomly fell into it, to be honest. I mean, I have been speaking now for about 4 or 5 years or different events. Now it's a lot more, doing a lot more. Um, I mean, it first started from me just sharing information online and going live.
Yeah.
And I don't even do it nowhere near as much as I used to, but that's how it kind of started. Just sharing information and just being, valuable and giving tips and stuff like that based on expertise.
So building
People just,
authority from
yeah, just
going
building
live and
authority.
sharing.
Yeah,
Okay.
really. And people started noticing that. And then also, of course, now majority of it comes to relationship building.
Mhm.
So, going to events, like before I was speaking at events, I mean, I still do it, but it's going to the event. So it's like, if you want to speak at this event or in this niche, like I'll recommend going and being in the audience first and then seeing how you can get on the stage. So that's really been, a lot of my strategy is like that. And again, relationships, a lot of my clients, because like I said, we do a lot of funnels for, webinars, virtual events, stuff like that. And a lot of these same clients hold in-person events. So then it's like, well, you built my funnel. I know you have the authority. I know you have the expertise. I would love for you to come and just share that with my audience. So it's a win-win. So yes, so I've been snowballing now. It's like just getting more and more as well. You're just trying to keep it consistent.
Well, and it seems like you're getting a lot of practice under your belt. Like, does it feel more natural and exciting each time, or
It
are people
does.
asking you to speak on different topics? Does it feel like it's mostly pretty consistent?
Yeah, it's mostly pretty consistent. So it's pretty much the same for the most part, the same topic. Now, I did a new presentation I just put together last week, which I'll talk about. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same type of information, just tailored to the audience. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like even next month in July, I'm going to Washington, D.C. to speak at a conference, and it's primarily therapists. But like, how
Okay.
can therapists use funnels and online advertising for the business to grow the practice? So of course, it's still going to be the baseline of like funnels and what they are and how you can use them and paid ads, but more tailored to like, okay, if I have a private practice or I'm a therapist, how does this apply to me? So like I kind of tailor like that. I've done real estate conversations, talking to agents about it, and just crafting the message to like be more real estate focused or whatever the industry that I'm speaking to.
And I love that too, that with funnel building, especially the types of funnels that you see success with, are you can easily accommodate to a very
Mhm.
specific niche or industry
Definitely.
with what you're doing. So it's like what
Right.
you're doing for the travel industry. You make this little tweak, you do it for people that are in the therapist business, and they're all like ready to throw money on the table, right? Because they're
Exactly.
like, I want to see help. I see that you're doing it for this industry. I know you can niche down and do it for this industry as well.
Exactly. So I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's super
well,
cool.
does your business need leads? Every
Yeah.
hand should go up. Does
Yeah.
your business need customers? Every hand should go up. Okay, well,
Yeah.
here's why you need a funnel.
Yeah, exactly. That's super cool. Um, I want to go back into like the funnels a little bit. What would you say is the most challenging thing about building funnels for a client, especially if they're new to this entire space or they don't know a whole lot about how it's going to work? And I know that you mentioned with paid ads, it's like the overnight success thing. Do you
Yeah.
see it being the same for funnels, or is there a different challenge that you face with some clients that don't know much about it?
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges I see is honestly them not already having proof of concept of
Mm,
like making sure I have a viable product or service in the marketplace. Because if you haven't done that part, no funnel is going to be a really help you and be a substitute for that. if that makes
Yeah.
sense. That's why I see a lot. It's like, I have this great idea. I want to do this. I want to hire you. I'm going to spend all this money. I got a loan or I have my savings or whatever. I want to build this funnel. It's going to be great. And it's like, okay, great. But do people want to buy this? Like,
Yeah.
really understand, not just like, do you think people are going to buy it? Have you tested it and seen to a certain degree that people will buy it? And
Yeah.
once you do that, I feel like, okay, we can put the funnel together. We can put the structure, the upsells, the sequence, and so forth. But I see it happen time and time again, even with paid ads. It's like, you haven't actually tested this in the marketplace. And
Mm.
it's just people get upset. And it's like, the best, you can have Russell build your funnel, but if people don't want to buy it, it's really not going to matter. You have to do that due diligence in the marketplace.
Yeah. I think too, it's interesting that it doesn't usually come down to the cost of the offer. Like price is actually irrelevant because if you're finding the right people, they'll pay
Exactly.
whatever it is. It's just knowing that the offer is relevant to what they've already been fed by that business, right?
Right.
It's the same
Exactly.
thing I mentioned with like a lead magnet versus your core offer. Like if there's disconnect there or someone's like, I loved your
Right.
like what I opted in for here, but this isn't for me. It's very interesting because if it is aligned and it is something that people want, price is almost never the issue.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people again think that is maybe, or maybe it's just the price, or then it's a race to the bottom and stuff like that. It's like, no, it's like really figuring out the avatar and the marketplace and having that dictate, what you think is best.
Yeah, that's good advice. Okay. Going back to speaking, because you said you just started a new presentation, and I've seen some of the stuff that you've been sharing about leads in business and, generating funnels for your clients so that they can see more profitability. What are you talking about now?
So the presentation I did last week was how to create $1 million Facebook ad campaign.
Mm,
Now that I have a lot of experience. And I also did like not just like talking about like how to do it, but case studies. Cause I have like a number of clients who have made over 7 figures from running ads in their business collectively, including myself. So that's really what it was about. And there are a lot of trends with that in the case studies, including myself, of like how people have able to make over $1 million from running ads to the funnel of their business. And it's interesting, like most of it was not, they had a great cost per click. They had a great lead mag. Most of it was not that. Like a lot of it was like number one thing in all case studies, consistency.
mm,
Being consistent in your business and what you offer. Like my one client who I did a case study about, she's in the daycare space. So she has a daycare, she has multiple daycares, but she also teaches people how to grow and scale their daycares.
mm.
So it's called Childcare Millionaires, is her brand.
Okay.
And her core offers are her webinars, online challenges, summit. So she does like a mix of them, at different times of the
So
year.
she's running a B2C and a B2B.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
everything we do for her as a client is on her B2C, or I call it business to entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Um, and everything. So I don't even work with her on her actual owning her childcare. I don't even work with her on that. I work with her on her basically coaching, consulting other childcare owners.
Gotcha.
But she does webinars, she does challenges, she does virtual summits like all the time, but she's consistent. She literally like will give the whole Q3, Q4 schedule. These are all the webinars and challenges I'm doing, run ads to them, do her offer, get people into her membership or her mastermind or her live events and stuff like that. But she's so consistent, like every single week, every 2 weeks, every month on what she does. She understands what works and she literally runs the same play and rinses and repeats. So
Mm.
that's one of the main trends with like everything is like that consistency piece. You know what I mean? It's not cost per click and cost per lead and all this. Like that stuff is great, like, of course. But if you're not consistent in your business or what you offer, people like me or other agencies, whatever, they not really going to help you too much if you're not consistent in your business.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's huge. And in fact, it brings up I was just reading, I finished Amy Porterfield's 2 weeks notice. And it's really interesting how there's just a small portion of the book that talks about that and like actually launching and running your business successfully. But like taking what works, even if it's super simple, even if it's
Right.
like low ticket, but if it's something that's like continuously working and you can set it and run it on autopilot and just continue to rinse and repeat, like you mentioned, like that's gold. Like that is
Exactly.
like that's the sweet spot right there. Like you can continue to do other things, but like knowing what is working and doing the rinse and repeat of that is going to create that sustainability for you to continue to do other things. And I think that's really
Yes.
powerful too. And I always try to like make a mental note of that too, because I don't know if you or anyone listening to this is familiar at all with the Enneagram. I'm a 7. So I'm like kind of all over the place. I like to throw things at walls and see what sticks. And I try to have to remind myself all the time of like, focus on this. This is what's working. Don't get too excited. Don't get
Right, right,
shiny
right, right,
object
right.
syndrome. Don't become a
Right, right.
squirrel. Like focus on this one thing because I get so excited. And that consistency is hard for people with my personality type or people who get really, really excited about new things. But it's huge. And when I personally will focus on those things that are working and just like put a little bit more effort into, allowing 1 hour each day to just do that thing before I jump to the next thing, it is like it increases in tenfold. So that
Yes.
whole consistency piece is so powerful.
I know it's interesting. Like I said, I literally was like, I have enough data now on people I've worked with and myself to like, what are trends? Because I'm really intrigued on that. And that was like the main thing is like just that consistency piece of being consistently showing up. And of course, that's going to play out in your ads. Like I said, it was
Yeah.
still framed around Facebook ads. Like if you're consistent with what you're offering, we can consistently run traffic to this and get data and optimize it and so forth. That's when, it's off to the races. But I see a
Yeah.
lot of people is like, they just pivot too much where it's like, you can't even really get that traction.
Yeah. And that brings up a good point too of like, it's not going to be an overnight success. The
Right.
consistency is what, you got to keep building. It builds character. There's going to be times where you're like, oh my God, I don't know if this is working. Why am I not
Right.
seeing anything? But if you do stay consistent with it, don't give up after 2, 3 days, weeks,
Exactly.
months. Like
Right.
some of this stuff takes a while to build. And if
Yeah,
people look back
absolutely.
and they see how much effort you've put into that, that counts. Like that
Absolutely.
matters. Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. I always like to ask a piece of advice about people in their industry and what they're doing. If you, as a funnel builder, were approached by somebody from an industry or a market or very specific niche that you've never encountered before, would you be able to tell them why they need a funnel?
I would. I mean, I don't want to sound cliche or make it basic, but it's like, does your business need leads, and do you need do you need to be in front of people that
Yeah.
are interested in what you offer? And like, I would hope everyone would say yes. And then it's like, well, does your business need customers? You need people paying you and stuff like that. And I hope everyone would say yes. Um, so yeah, I mean that. And then from an ad perspective, of like, do you need the visibility? Like, do you
Yeah.
need in front of people consistently and letting people know that you even exist? There's so many best kept secrets out in the marketplace. Like, I feel like entrepreneurs, for the most part, have great products and services. A lot of people just don't even know that it's out there for them to get. So,
Right.
I mean,
So
that's
what
what I
would
would
be
start
like
with.
the piece of advice to somebody who's like, I don't know what to do. Where do I start? How do I put something together? What would you tell them?
I always start with actively building leads and getting your list. That's what I
Yeah.
was saying. Like, have something in place where you can have leads coming to you on a consistent basis, hopefully every single day. Whatever
Yeah.
that looks like, whatever makes sense for your niche or your industry or whatever you do, that's what I would say would be like first thing is like focus on that piece, lead magnet, whether it's a quiz, whether it's training, a sales call, like whatever mechanism is going to be to generate you leads consistently, put that in place and do that. And then focus on other things and the rest of the funnel and everything like that. But I would put that in place. I would recommend they put that in place first.
Especially because you can always sell to them later, even if you don't have
Exactly.
an offer yet. Like, that
Exactly.
list, that audience is there, they understand you, they know who
Exactly.
you are. You can always go back and sell to them later.
Right. And that's what I see with people doing launches is like missing that part. Is like, I want to launch this, I want to do this. And it's like, well, who are you launching to? And even if you are not launching right now, but having a list ready for when you do launch something new, I
Yeah,
think is very important.
yeah. Awesome. Well, Ryan, the funnel doctor, where can people go to learn more about you and your business?
Sure. So I'm all over social media, of course. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can go to our website is thefunneldoctoragency.com, thefunneldoctoragency.com. You can get a copy of our book, The Prescription. It's also on Amazon. And we'll be launching our book funnel very soon as well. But I'm not hard to find anywhere online.
Awesome. All right, everybody, go check out Ryan McCrary, the funnel doctor. He's a wealth of knowledge and can help you with all things funnel and paid ads. Thanks again, Ryan, for being on the episode today. It's been great to have you, and we'll have to catch up again soon.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a good one.
You too.